Good morning, everyone. It's great to see you and thank you very much for joining. Today is our launch of our very special recruitment portal that we have specifically designed and developed for the recruitment industry. So for you, those of you that are in the recruitment industry, recruitment agents, this is specifically for you. So we are very excited as you are, to show you what we've got in store. It's a real nice, fantastic application. So the agenda will be shared with you shortly. My name's Lizette de Villiers and my colleague Susanne Conradi, the General Manager at Shadowmatch. Both of us will be doing the presentation and we will be doing the walkthrough of what we've got in store for you. Just a few administrative arrangements. You will notice that your microphone is currently in the mute setting. We will leave it as that until the end of the presentation. There will definitely be enough time for questions and answers. You would have seen in the invitation that we've scheduled 9 to 11. I really don't think we're going to be 2 hours. We just wanted to make sure that we've got enough time if there are questions so that we address all your questions. You are welcome during the course of the presentation to post your question in the chat. Whether I'm talking or Susanne is talking, the other person will then answer your question, or we'll just keep the question on a list of questions so that we can address the questions at the end of the session. So you can just make a note of your questions. As you know, as we go through the presentation and the walk through the system, sometimes your question gets answered. So yeah, keep your questions aside and we will have an interactive question and answer session at the end. Some of our colleagues are also joining, Krista, Shamaine and Ruzan, some of our head office colleagues and also some of our Shadowmatch consultants. To all of those joining, a warm welcome to you as well. You would have seen that we are recording the session, so it will be placed on our Shadowmatch events calendar where you can always then find the YouTube link after today's session. And Shamaine will also share the link with everybody who registered for this session, and those of you that are attending today will get the recording as part of an email after today's session. And you're welcome to share this with colleagues. This is not secret information. We wanted to spread far and wide, so you're welcome to then share that recording with some of your colleagues as well. I know some of our people that have registered have sent some apologies this morning, so definitely the recording will be available. Then I think, let me just make sure that I've got all the administrative things covered. I think that's more or less it. I think I'm going to jump right in. And as we go along, Susanne will also add where I have left something out. Enjoy. We're looking forward to show you what we've got installed. So let me share my screen. So a lot of you know Shadowmatch. And some of you have never heard of Shadowmatch, and some of you might have bumped into Shadowmatch at your client, or some of you have heard clients using Shadowmatch. So this is what we're going to do for the first bit of today's session. So if I share the agenda with you, you'll see that the first bit of our session this morning will be to just give you an overview of Shadowmatch, and you will see a word that you might not have heard in the past, Skills Grid. So there are two applications, not really two different systems, but two applications on the software platform. The one is Shadowmatch and the other one is Skills Grid. Both of these are on offer to you as a recruitment agent, and I will be covering on a very high level just what both of these systems do, and then we'll take you on a walkthrough. So that's the first point on our agenda, just a quick overview of what is Shadowmatch so that we are all on the same page when we dive into the specific application for recruitment. Then we will look at Shadowmatch and Skills Grid for recruitment. What is the value we bring to you as a recruiter? There will be a live system demonstration. We will discuss the pricing. And then there's an opportunity for you as a recruiter, obviously, to earn a passive income. We will discuss that. And then I will just show you what are the business applications for Shadowmatch. And point number 6 is really where you deal with clients and where you do recruitment and placements for your clients. If you hear about a need or you see a need, how you can position Shadowmatch and how this can also benefit your pocket. And then as you see, number 7 will be the question and answer session. So let's jump right in. What is Shadowmatch? So just on a very high level, Shadowmatch is a sophisticated web-based system. So those of you that know Shadowmatch well, this might be a nice refresher for you. And those of you that have never heard of Shadowmatch, I hope this gives you a nice picture. So it's a sophisticated web-based system. It's a system that measures behavioral patterns or habits. So that's on a very high level. So if you want to categorize Shadowmatch, you will probably categorize it as an in-basket exercise or as a role play exercise. So it's not a personality test. That's quite important for me to mention. It's not a psychometric or personality test, and that's part of the value to you as recruiter, because it means you can use the system. You don't have to have any specific qualification as a psychometrist or a psychologist. So it's available to you to use. Managers can use it, coaches can use it, and that makes it so the application so far and wide, because you don't have to be registered as a psychologist or a psychometrist to use Shadowmatch. So having said that, it measures behavioral patterns or habits. And now the next point on my slide is, how does it work? So an individual will receive an invitation from the system via email. So the invitation goes from the system to an individual, and in the email there's a link that invites them to complete the Shadowmatch worksheet. Now the worksheet is 70 questions, and that's where the sophisticated AI platform then kicks in. So the moment the individual starts to answer the 70 questions, the system has intelligence to observe the behavior of the individual as they work their way through the questions, and continuously as they answer the questions by means of multiple choice answers, the system maps their behavior and the system seeks for patterns in the behavior. So as the individual works their way through the 70 questions, the system in the back end observes the behavior and it says, okay, what answer did this person choose? Oh, this is an indication of that behavior. And what is the intensity? Is this a strong behavior? Is this just a soft behavior? Is this a contextual behavior? So the system also maps the intensity of that behavior for the individual. So now the system has that information. The moment the individual completes the last question on the worksheet, we have the data on the system, and the sophisticated AI platform then generates a lot of information using that data of an individual. So point number 3 is individual results. So the system takes all the data points and it then produces an individual result for the individual. So they immediately get access to a full report, full personal report that gives the individual feedback on their natural behavior patterns or their habits. But the system also generates a lot of other reports. It's not just an individual result. It's also a career report that an individual can get. And that brings me to point number 4, the individual portal. So every person completing the Shadowmatch worksheet, the moment they complete that worksheet of 70 questions, they get access to their own individual Shadowmatch portal. And as an individual or an applicant in your language, on that individual portal, the individual can, independently from the company or from you as the recruitment agent, work with their own data. They can request multiple reports. There are stress mapper reports, there are career reports, study method reports, relationship reports, and that's not the aim of our session today. This is really just to give you an overview of what's available to the individual. But now, dear participants, keep in mind, and I'll show you some examples of all of these, so don't stress, it's not just going to be theory. The system then, once we have the data, there are multiple applications to a business, to you as a recruitment agent, and obviously to universities, academic institutions, coaches, psychologists. So the system has a wide reach in terms of applications. What we're going to focus on today is obviously just what is important for you to have knowledge on. And the next point on my agenda is benchmarks. So what makes Shadowmatch very unique and very accurate and cutting edge is the fact that we create benchmarks. Now, the benchmark we use is not a generic benchmark. Yes, we have that option and we'll get to that. But a benchmark is let's put it in inverted commas, an ideal profile of what is needed for a specific job in a specific environment. So if you are recruiting for a company that needs a sales agent in a call center, the system enables the company to create a benchmark of the successful people already in that role. So to use our example, if we look at a sales benchmark or a sales agent in a call center, you can send invitations to the top performing sales agents in that environment. They individually complete the 70 questions. We refer to that as the Shadowmatch worksheet. So they individually complete the worksheet, and the system takes all the information of the individuals, it combines it into an individual profile or a one view profile, which we then call a benchmark. And that benchmark is powerful because the benchmark gives you insight into what are the behaviors needed for success in this specific role in this company. But the benchmark also captures the culture of the business, and the benchmark also captures the environment of the business. So by taking your top performers, letting them complete Shadowmatch, and then creating that benchmark, and it's all done automatically. The system does all of that for you. All you need to do is you just need to send the invitation, and we'll show you when we get to the live walkthrough on the system. So the benchmark gives you as a recruiter a very good view of what is needed for success in this environment, because it gives you a context map, a map of what are the habits, what's the culture, what type of behavior works in this environment, under this leadership style, under these circumstances, in this physical setting. So that's what the benchmark gives you. Now, obviously, Shadowmatch has been on the market for more than 20 years. It's not a new application. Businesses use the product specifically for placement because they'll create a benchmark and they can then work with you as recruitment agent to get the fit for that role. And then there are lots of other business applications which we'll touch on at the end of the presentation. And then point number 6, it's important, and all of these things I've listed because I'm going to show them to you now in terms of how it works and visually what it looks like on the system. We have matching. So you have the individual completed Shadowmatch, you have the individual result. Now you've created the benchmark of the top or successful people in a specific role, in a specific environment. And now the system enables you to compare or to match. So you've got your benchmark. You can now take the results of an individual, compare that individual to the benchmark to see what is the likeliness of this individual to be successful in that specific role, in that specific environment. And the system then gives you a score out of 10 to say the match of this person to this benchmark to do this job, it's 3 out of 10. Means they've got a 30% chance of success. And then maybe you say, but okay, that's not the best candidate to forward to my client. Let me see if I can get somebody else with a better propensity towards being successful in this role. And the matching score will indicate who's the best candidate that you can submit with CV, with the Shadowmatch results, with all the other checks and balances that you have when you present a client to your applicant to your client. Okay, so let me just show you what these results look like so that you've got a good idea and a visual map. So if we look at just the personal portal, so remember, once a person completes Shadowmatch, they get access to their own Shadowmatch personal portal, and on the portal they have available their habit report, telling them what their natural behavior patterns are, and then they can request a career report or a study methods report. There's a habits to action report. They can embark on development programs. They can request relationship programs. There are coaching programs available. They can complete their skills map, and I will spend some time on this shortly after we've discussed Shadowmatch. They can request a stress mapper. Now, let me just interrupt myself. For skills map, for stress mapper, and for the last one on the list here, the industry paradigm, there are different questionnaires. So with the Shadowmatch worksheet of the 70 questions, everything you see in the top 2 rows is available from that one worksheet that the individual completed. No other questionnaire necessary. But for the bottom 3 circles, there are separate questionnaires. So this is for the individual. They can engage completely independently from you as the recruitment agent or from the company. Now let's look at this habit report. That's the individual result somebody gets when they complete Shadowmatch. So obviously I've just used screenshots on my PowerPoint presentation so that I don't have to switch to and fro. But this is typically what an individual result will look like. It gives an individual a map of their behavioral patterns on 25 areas in total, so 19 overall habits, and these bars show the intensity of that specific behavior. And please don't stress, when you work with a system, there's interactive mouse overs so that you can read. The report gives all the explanations of what you see graphically in fine detail. But this is typically the behavior patterns of an individual, and it will show you where the strong patterns are. If you look at problem solving and you look at propensity to own, those are strong habits. Propensity to hand off for this individual, a very soft behavior pattern, and so forth. And then what we also measure is We measure, there are 10 questions amongst the 70 questions that the individual needs to answer correctly to score a 10 out of 10. However, 10 out of 10 doesn't mean good and you've passed the test. Not at all. 10 out of 10 just says this individual has a very strong habit of applying their conceptual ability. Sometimes in a job, we only need 3 out of 10. Sometimes in a job, we only need 5 out of 10. And what we need for the job will be indicated by the benchmark. Then we measure the task efficiency. In other words, how efficiently did the individual use their time when they worked through this Shadowmatch worksheet? We measure the time. We measure the conceptual time on the 10 questions. And then we also measure attitude. Now, attitude is an individual's approach, their general approach to life and work. Do they become involved? Do they stay uninvolved? Are they unaggressively involved or uninvolved? Or do they have a bit more of an assertive approach? Now, you will see when you start working with the Shadowmatch results, dear participants, that we all have a combination of the 4 attitude categories. We'll have a dominant approach, and then a second dominant, and then a third, and then a fourth. So we know that for this individual, their dominant approach is, I'm going to get involved in an unaggressive manner. So again, no good and bad. We need to work with the result we have. I know it's very high level, and I know you might have some questions. Jot them down. At this point, I'm just going to mention we're going to have a specific training session in April for those of you that want to use the system. So today is not the only session, and then we love and leave you. We will definitely be engaging on a regular basis. So now let me show you an example of a benchmark. Now I'm just going to go one slide back. So that's the individual result. Let's play it's my habit. So that's my habits, the individual. Now the company sent the worksheet to a few top performers, and the system combined those results now into the benchmark, the context map. Now that's why it's great, because it's more than one individual. I think in this benchmark that I copied were 5 individuals, successful people in the role. And the system now says, this is the context that we are recruiting for. This is the habits. That's the intensity of the habits. These are the 5 strongest habits these people in this environment, I think it's a sales benchmark, these are the 5 strongest habits these people use when they engage with the client. Their conceptual fitness is 4 out of 10. Now I'm going to interrupt myself for one moment. It's important to know that we are not looking for a 10 out of 10. Conceptual fitness is or let me just take one step back. Conceptual ability is an individual's ability to apply their mind and to do something accurately, whether it is completing a maths calculation, whether it is reading a report, reading information and writing a report. So all of us have an ability to score 10 out of 10, but we're not all equally fit. So we measure not what the ability is of the individual and of the group of top performers. We measure what's the fitness level. In other words, what fitness level in terms of your conceptual ability is needed for success in the job. And that's what we see here on the benchmark. And that's what we are recruiting for. We want to recruit people that have a 4 out of 10 match, or a 3 or a 5 out of 10. Because if we recruit people now that score 10 out of 10, that individual is going to be completely bored. They are going to be destructive in the environment, and you're not going to retain that individual in the job. The other side is also true. If we recruit somebody that scores 1 out of 10, where we now see on the benchmark we need a 4 out of 10, that person might be completely out of their depth because their conceptual fitness level is not fit enough to do the job. So we want a match. And that's where Shadowmatch, that's where the word Shadowmatch comes from. Your benchmark is your shadow, and you want to match an individual to the shadow to ensure success and sustainability and retention in the job. Now let me show you a match. Susanne, and you're welcome to elaborate more on what I've shown when you show the system. This is really just to give everybody an overview. There we've done a match. So now we've taken the individual, which is the colored graph. The system compared that individual to my benchmark, and the system now gives me robot indicators to say, on the overall match, which is that one, we're not happy that that's a match. And you can just see, if you visually look at this, dear participants, can you see where some of the habits are completely out of line with what we need for this environment? The individual has softer habits than what is needed for this job success. Look at the 5 strongest habits. The individual scored 6 out of 10. The system says, not bad. I'll give an amber robot or a yellow robot. The time management was more or less the same time as what the benchmark took. If you look at the time, and that also, the conceptual fitness and the total time relates to the task efficiency. So that's why we don't have an indicator for task efficiency, because it's a combination from of the conceptual fitness and the total time. And the system is quite happy that the attitude is dominant in the same quadrant. But this is your important decision-making score. The system says this individual has a 3 out of 10 match, and it says caution. So this person has a 30% chance of success, maybe not the best candidate to present to your client. Great. I'm going to park it there. We'll see more of this when we get to the live system. So let me now move on to Skills Grid. I'm just going to check my screen. Susanne, are there any important chats or questions that I need to answer now? Nothing now. Okay, great. So I want you to now just park your thoughts on Shadowmatch, and now I'm shifting the focus to Skills Grid. And why are we covering both these systems? Because both of these systems will be available to you on the Shadowmatch recruitment portal. We're not going to go into both of them today on the system overview because they have exactly the same working. But I want you to just understand what Skills Grid does. And I think for some of you, this might really be the first time that you hear of Skills Grid. It's been live for a long time. It's not a new system, but it's not as widely used as Shadowmatch, specifically by recruitment agents. So Skills Grid, what is Skills Grid? Let's start with the same flow. Skills Grid is a system. It asks 25 questions and it maps the skills of an individual. So this is a self-assessment. How does it work? I'm moving to point number 2 and I will be interchanging to 1 and 2. So Skills Grid is the same as Shadowmatch. You send an invitation via email to an individual. They get a link, they click on the link and they answer 25 questions with regards to their skills. So we have 25 headline skills, management skills, computer literacy, verbal skills, administrative skills, technical skills, just to name a few. So we have headline skills, and then under each of those headline skills, we have sub-skills. So for example, if we look at computer literacy as a headline skill, the moment somebody ticks the box and says, I think I am highly skilled on computer literacy, the system presents the following question and with a follow-up question, and then the individual needs to rate themselves on a lot of computer programs so that the system can check that they are actually really highly skilled on computer literacy. And then a lot of computer programs will list, and the individual will then select those that they are efficient in or proficient in, and then the system maps that skill. So there are checks and balances in the system. If somebody overrates themselves, the system will adjust the score. Our experience is that people tend to underrate themselves. But let's get back to business. A Skills Grid maps skills. It's 25 questions, so it's a shorter questionnaire. It takes about 10 to 15 minutes to complete. An individual complete the worksheet, and they get a map of their skills, and the system then creates a report with the map as well as the wording and the explanation of what have they selected on all the various skills. So that's the individual result. As you've seen on the individual portal, those bottom 3 circles, an individual can also, if they haven't done Skills Grid as part of the application or part of the invitation from the agent, they can all by themselves go to their personal portal and decide to do a Skills Grid map, obviously then at an additional cost for the individual. With Skills Grid, we also create benchmarks and we also do matching. Exactly the same principle as with Shadowmatch. Your benchmark is your combined profile of your successful people in the job. So it gives you a picture of what skills do we need for this specific job in this specific environment. And then as with Shadowmatch, once you have your map of the skills needed for the job, you can compare people, individuals to that map. So let me show you visuals just so that you have an idea what Skills Grid looks like. So that's the individual result for an individual. Now, I'm going to spend one moment to go through the 5 categories of skills. So we have cognitive skills, people skills. Oopsie, let me just go back. My apologies. Cognitive skills, people skills, communication skills, technical skills, management, and planning. And then under each of these categories, we have the headline skills like IT, maths, planning, coaching and mentoring, people, caregiving. So these are the skills. Now, what you see here is an individual that have rated themselves, and the system populates the intensity of that specific skill. So you can see when we look at the communication skills, selling, verbal skills, writing skills, these two skills, the individual is highly skilled. There they are skilled. You can see on a skill like this where they've only selected one block, and that is machine operating under technical skills. They said, you know what, I don't have a skill, or I've got a basic skill. So the system gives you an idea of the individual skills, and obviously accompanied with the graph you see will be a full report, which I haven't copied and pasted, but there's a report explaining what you see on the graph. Now, what does a benchmark look like? That's a skills grid benchmark. So now the benchmark, remember, dear participants, this is now the combination of a few individuals that are successful people in the role. And on the benchmark, it shows me as a recruiter what skills are needed, what's the importance of the skill, but also at what intensity do I need that skill. So I've copied and pasted the key on the right side here, and that's also available on the system. So you will see that in terms of how many blocks are filled, shows me what is the intensity, what is the importance of that skill, or the intensity of that skill. So the intensity of, let's say, negotiation for this job is the person needs to be highly skilled. Can you see they filled 4 blocks. If we look at your key, so they need to be highly skilled on negotiation. But what's the importance of that skill? Let's look at our bottom key. It's a dark gray. This is a critical skill for the job. So I now have a picture that for this job, negotiation skills, the person must be highly skilled in negotiation, and it's a critical skill for the job. So that's how you will interpret your benchmark. And now we have a match against the benchmark. So now the system does exactly the same as with Shadowmatch. It takes an individual, compares that individual to the benchmark, gives you a score out of 10, which we don't see on the screen here. It's live on the system. But it gives you an indicator again. Where are the mismatches? And you can see if you look at that red one there, the benchmark indicated we need presentation skills as an expert critical skill. This person only filled 3 blocks. So obviously then in the report, this is explained and you get your score out of 10 for the match against the benchmark. So I know it's a lot of information. I tried to keep it as simple and as high level as possible so that you have an idea when we get to the system and Suzanne starts playing, what is an individual result, what's a benchmark, and what's a match. Okay, let's move on. Now, dear participants, what's the Shadowmatch and the skills grid value to you as an individual, to you as a recruitment agent, to you using the system or want to use the system for recruitment? Now, firstly, and I've spent some time on this already, it's benchmark based. So for habits and skills, we work with a benchmark. Why do we do that? Because that ensures accuracy. It gives you the scientific view of the context. It gives you a scientific map of what is needed for success in this context. And we specifically don't like to work with generic benchmarks. We have that option, and I will chat about that in a moment. But we want you to go to your client where you've got the assignment to find an applicant and to create that benchmark, that specific context map for the job that you are recruiting for. Because then you are going to make sure that you get the best candidate with the best match with the highest propensity towards success in that role. And that obviously then, if we look at point number 3 and point number 4 on my slide, the moment you place somebody that's a 6 and above out of 10, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 out of 10 match. In other words, not a red match, it's a yellow or a green match. 5 and up is yellow and green matches. The moment you place somebody that's a 6 and higher match out of 10 in that specific role, there's accelerated learning. And we've seen that more time and time again with many of our clients. The moment they employ somebody that's a high match to the top performing people in that job, it accelerates the learning. That individual becomes productive much quicker because they have the same behavior patterns as the top performers who already perform in that culture under that management and leadership style. So you have accelerated learning. You definitely have better retention. The moment you recruit somebody into an environment where you work with a specific benchmark, the person is a high match to the benchmark. It's the best, obviously, point number 2, a best job and culture match. You have better retention because the person feels that, but I fit. These are my people. I can do this job and I actually like the job. So they stay longer and they perform much better. Now, what we also add as a value to you is we give you the option to create an unlimited database of applicants. So you can put as many applicants as you want on the system at no cost. And I'm going to repeat myself. You can use the system, put as many applicants as you want. So for all the jobs you are recruiting for, send a Shadowmatch worksheet, send a Skills Grid worksheet invitation, build your database at no cost. Why would you want to do that? Because the moment you start to get a large database, even though the applicant is not a match for the job you are recruiting for now, maybe 2 months from now or a month from now, you get another assignment for a similar job, maybe not even a similar job. And that person that you've got on your database is now a 9 out of 10 match to this new job assignments benchmark. And you immediately have the information and you can present that applicant to your client. Number 6, what's further value? You get applicant insight. Now, yes, we do interviews, but dear participants, we all know, and I think you better than we do, that in an interview, obviously I put my best foot forward. And how do I vet that what the person says in the interview is actually true? So the moment I have that individual result and that full personal report of an individual, I have a lot of insight into who's this applicant of mine. I have an immediate view of what are their behavior patterns. And even if I don't have a benchmark because it's a new role, or I've got a very small recruitment agent and I do one person at a time where it's like very executive recruitment, so I can't create a benchmark, just having that full personal report of the individual gives me so much insight into the applicant. I can now submit that to my client with much more information than I had previously. I can now tell my client, this individual will behave in this way. And there's the report. And then lastly, the comprehensive client information pack. So if you work with a client, you have a benchmark, even if you don't have a benchmark, you have the option to now submit the CV with all the other things that you submit. You can add the skills grid match, the skills grid report. You can add the Shadowmatch match, the Shadowmatch report, Shadowmatch matching report, skills grid matching report. So you can now give a comprehensive pack to your client for them to decide, and maybe not just on one client, but you can on one applicant, you can submit 3 or 4 applicants and say, you make the decision. All these applicants are good fits for your job environment, for your job, for your culture, and for your environment. There's all the information. Decide who you want to interview. So you have a real differentiator in terms of the service you offer to your clients. Great. I think that's my last slide before I'm going to hand to Suzanne to show you the system, and then we'll get to discuss the pricing. Now, some of the pricing or the cost is on this slide, obviously, as you can see. So the first thing is, as a recruitment agent, you have the option, it's on my previous slide, to build a list of unlimited list of applicants. So you can build a database, no cost, to get people on the system. You have unlimited benchmarks. So you can go to all your clients at no cost. You can create unlimited benchmarks on the system. Now, a benchmark, you will now recall, is the profile of the top performers or the successful people in the job. We want you to have 3 to 5 people in the benchmark. We can't work with one because then we want to try and clone someone, and we all know that's not possible. The system works optimally with 3 to 5 people in a benchmark so that you have a very good, scientific, valid, and reliable profile of your top people, your successful people in the role. So you can create unlimited benchmarks at no cost. I said I will say something about generic benchmarks. We do have benchmarks available. So if you work with one of your clients and they say, but you know what, this is a new role. We are starting a business. We want to do a customer service call center. We don't have anybody to profile. We don't have top performers because we don't have a business yet. And you want to make sure that you don't just send an individual result to your client, but you actually match against something. You can request head office to create a generic benchmark. We have many benchmarks. We have a database of millions of people and lots of benchmarks. So what do we do in the case of a generic benchmark? We engage with you as our client, the recruitment agent being our client, and we ask you, what's the job description? What type of role is this? What type of environment is this? We then delve into our database and we create a benchmark as close as possible to the industry and the environment of your client. We call it generic because remember, it's not specific to that environment, but it's better than not working with a benchmark. So if you have that where you can't create that specific role-specific benchmark, but you want to match against the benchmark, we can help with a generic benchmark. That generic benchmark will carry a cost because it involves time and effort from our side to actually create that benchmark for you. Then, as I said, the unlimited applicant listing, no cost. Match against the benchmark, there's a cost. So you will see now when Suzanne takes you through this system, building your database gives you a list of all the people, all the names, and all the surnames. But the moment you want to see the match against the benchmark, you have to unlock that match, and there's a cost for that. The moment you want to unlock the result, that's that graph that I've shown you, match against the benchmark, there's a cost to unlock that result, and then also part of that cost gives you the full report of the individual as well as that matching report, the comparison against the benchmark. How do you as a recruitment agent pay? You're going to pay via PayFast, and the beauty is you only pay for what you need. So if you have a list of 100 applicants on your database, up to this point, you haven't paid anything. Now you say, okay, I've got 10 benchmarks. I've got 100 applicants. For this benchmark, for the sales benchmark at this client, I would like to find somebody that's a match. Now you can take your benchmark. You can search your database of 100 applicants. Up to this point, you've paid nothing. The system will now come back and say, out of your 100 applicants, there are 5 people with a 10 out of 10 match. It will show you the match. Now you can say, okay, for those 5 applicants, I'm going to unlock the match to see the color of the robots. That's going to cost you a fee. And for these 5 applicants, I'm going to unlock their results. So the 100 applicants and all the benchmarks, up to now, you've paid nothing. Now, only once you see the matches, you can decide, I'm only going to buy these 5 applicants. So we really want to encourage you to build your database and only pay for what you need at a very affordable price. Wait and see. I'll show you the costs. You won't believe it. Before I hand to Suzanne, just again, I think you all do online shopping, but these are the options on PayFast. You will be able to pay via a credit or check card, debit card. You can do an instant EFT, you can do SnapScan, you can do Zapper. So all the options available to you when you do your online shopping, this will be available to you to unlock those results as you need them. Great, Suzanne, I'm now handing over to you to show them the system. I think this is the moment everybody is waiting for, so you've got the limelight. Thanks.
Great, thank you so much, Lizette. Good morning, everyone. It's lovely to have you with us. So I'm so glad Lizette took us through that foundation, because now the amazing things I'm going to show you on the system now has context. Now, if I just say benchmark, you understand, but what is the gravity? What is the insight and the value a benchmark brings to the table? Now, in a nutshell, what we're trying to do is we're trying to equip you to get that edge, to say the experience of a company working with you, the placements you provide, the candidates you or the applicants you recommend are the candidates and the applicants that stick. They're the applicants that they say, listen, you promised me this person will be my next CEO or my next head of whatever. And they were. And they were excellent. And they stayed around. And they've been loyal to us for many years. And they're excelling. And then if you're working from the personal side, if you're working with your applicants, that experience of, if I'm partnering with you to find me a position, to find me my next career, my next role, I have the opportunity of having a fulfilled, engaging career, and not just something that, yes, it pays the bills. And yes, obviously that's the first thing is you want something that gives you an income, but you have that opportunity for a fulfilled and engaged career where it fits me. It fits the unique way that I approach life. So it's not just, you're working responsibly and ethically with both of your clients, the applicants and the organizations that you're doing these placements in, to say, let's make sure it's a sustainable fit, that all the magic can happen down the line. So in other words, happy client, happy individual, and happy recruiter, because the things you're putting on the table has that opportunity to be a sustainable fit. Now, what does all of this look like live? So we built an interface specifically for you as a recruiter. So it's a view of the Shadowmatch system, but we just put in it what you would need to do to make it as quick and slick and easy as possible for you to say, give me the stuff that I need, that I can get to action, because we all know your rate of work, the pace you need to work at, and the margins you work in. And that's where you see the costing option. And thanks for that comment, Almar, in the chat there. You'll see the costing option. We designed it to work in your style of doing this. So we did our research before that. And thanks for some of the individuals on the screen that helped us to say, but what is the costing options that will fit the style and the environment you are working in, to say it should fit the small margins you have, but it should give you that return on it, to say, yes, the moment I'm putting something on the table, the moment I have skin in the game, that I've committed to purchasing something, I know I'm getting value from it. So when you want to basically add that to the process. So this is just the landing page, and you'll see there's just 3 things on the screen. This is where I choose what do I build and what do I engage. So I build my list of applicants, I build my repository or my library, my landscape of benchmarks across all of the clients I'm working with. And here I do the magic to find the recommendation and find the matching. Now, we know for some of your roles, you won't be working with benchmarks. Benchmarks is the ideal. That's the good practice. That's the thing we're aiming towards. And you see, when you're working with the system, you're going to see, eventually you're going to say, no, I want to do this with a benchmark because it gives me the amazing thing. But we know life happens, reality. So sometimes you maybe just want to work with applicants. And we also have that option for you. Let's see what everything looks like live. If I go to my list of applicants, here you see, I see all the names. So these are the people I've invited to complete the worksheet. And when I'm referring to I or me, I'm the recruiter. So everything I'm doing now, you'll be able to do live on your side. You log in and you have access to everything. And you see, that's also the silent Shadowmatch, is there isn't gatekeeping to say, okay, for you to do this, you need to have permission from 25 people. No. Enable you that you can do this at 1 o'clock in the morning. If your working hours are flexible, you can do this and send and work with the data as you need. So this is my list of applicants. Now, what my columns represent is, this is everything I've asked them to complete. So in this example, we have individuals that have completed the Shadowmatch worksheet. So we have the habits. We've requested a career report for them. And some of these individuals, the one at the bottom, I've also requested a skills grid worksheet for them. Now, as Lizette said, nothing of this costed money. All that happened is I invited applicants to complete the worksheet. How do you do that? You click on invite applicants. So you'll see we try to make it as logical as possible to say, hopefully, if you can read, you can follow the flow of it to say, okay, invite applicants. That's probably where you invite the applicants. So here you click on send invites to individuals. And here you can then say, listen, I want to invite Joe Soap. You put in his details and you say, what do you want of him? Do you want him to complete the Shadowmatch worksheet? Do you want him to complete the skills grid worksheet, or both? So you can this is the first trigger from your side to say, I want this amazing information of the applicant. On their side, they get the link, they complete their worksheet. And once they've completed it, you'll see them here on your list. So they become someone in your database. But you don't have to commit to pay for anything. I just want to click back here. You don't have to click on anything. You can simply then say, listen, these are the ones I want to purchase. And those are the ones you would then open up. You'll see that just in a moment. I just want to get back to our list. So back to my applicants. Great. Okay. So here they are. Now, let's say in scenario one, we'll get to all the magic benchmark things now, but in scenario one, I now say, listen, I've walked a journey with Brandon. I know who Brandon is. And even without doing the benchmark, I want the next insight into Brandon. So I want to understand Brandon's unique way of doing things. I want to see what he brings to the table behavioral wise. And let's say if you had skills grid, I would also say, I want to unlock his skills that I can see what is the skill set he brings to the table. So this aspect, I'm enhancing his CV. The thing I'm presenting to the client, I give a wider scope to say, this is the individual. And let's say this is now in our scenario, I say, I just want this. I just want to know Brandon's habits. Because he's on your database, you can click unlock and see how easy it becomes. Now that button came alive here to say, okay, I see you want to unlock something. Let's get it active for you. If you click on it, you'll see that's where it shows you where you can purchase. And this is then the price for me to then get all of the reports for that individual. Example here, there we go. And if I click now in my simulation, I'm not going to go all the way to pay fast. This is just a nice ninja move I can do today. So if I click pay and unlock, now I did the payment on my credit card, and now I can view his full report. So it's quick as easy. And now I can view the insight into who is this individual. So now I can have all of these amazing things to say, this is the way he's going to approach his environment. But you see, there wasn't any commitment that you need to do this for all of the applicants on your list. You can literally then cherry pick to say, okay, these following applicants, yes, I want their details. But the way we recommend it, the way with benchmarks, is build the second piece of the puzzle. Because puzzle piece one is understanding your individuals. Great, there you can build your list. You can have thousands of people as you want. Building your benchmarks is then saying the current role I'm recruiting for. So this is your client targeted you to recruit for them in IT. All that needs to happen is at least 3 people in the current IT department, the people on the floor doing the job well in the current context, while Susan is the manager and they have a hybrid landscape of working from home and working from the office and everything that's happening in their environment. The people that are performing in that environment, they just simply complete the worksheet and you create the benchmark. And same with this is you don't pay for that. They complete the worksheet, but you get the insight of you can build the benchmark that it's there. So you have that insight of, okay, now the database is there and I have my applicants, and then we can start with the magic of cross-matching it. But I just want to show you, if your benchmark is open, this is what you would see. This is, for instance, for IT. And as I said, showed you in the introduction, this specific level of habits. So what that height of that graph, it means something. Now it's just gray graphs on the screen for you, probably not meaning so much this morning, but that is then the unique insight into what is the habits that are functional towards success. In this specific environment, the habit that is most prevalent, that is used the most, is conflict handling. The habit that is the softest is routine. So now you understand, okay, the mechanisms of what is this landscape, this culture, this dynamic, what does it look like? And all that needed to happen is 3 people needed to complete it. And how did you get them? How did you get them on the system? As quick and easy as this, you click on invite. So you clicked on invite and you send the individuals. The details you then put in wasn't an applicant. It wasn't one of the CVs you're working with. It was someone in the company. It was the IT person working there. And you simply did exactly the same thing. You sent them an invite. Once they've completed it, the benchmark is populated. Now, let's say you want to create a new benchmark. So this is just 2 that we have on the list here. You simply say create new benchmark. Let's say now you're recruiting for a finance manager. That's the role you need to do for your new client. You create that, and then you'll see it's an open file because we don't have any data in it. And now you need to start putting the people in. So you click on invite to benchmark. You'll send them the invite. And now these individuals will complete the worksheet for you and their data will populate in so you can start building your database of benchmarks. Now, where the magic happens is here. up until now, that was already a lot of magic, but where the true magic happens is if you now start making your data become alive. Now, if we click on find recommendations, now it's cross-matching my applicants and my matches. Now, I can either have the view like this where all of my benchmarks are activated, or I can do the following. I specifically want to work with IT. Let's say this is the current role I need to recruit with. So I'm going to deselect the other benchmark. So I'm only keeping the benchmark active that I currently want to. So I'm basically filtering my search to say, for IT, I want to search for people. So on my benchmark list, only IT. You see what the little thing there, and you see how easy it was? I just click or unclick. So for IT active, and if I then click on my find recommendations, it's now searching my entire database of who are the matches for this. Now, because I haven't unlocked anything, because all of this was free up until now, I'm not seeing names, but now I can see the insight to say, okay, these are everybody on my database, all of the applicants. And you see one of them is live. Why? Because I purchased his data. Remember earlier in my demo, I purchased Brandon. So now I can see Brandon. There's Brandon's details. So I know Brandon for this role is a 6 out of 10. That's fantastic. But wait a minute, what's happening here? Here I have an individual that is a 10 out of 10. So in other words, the chances of this individual also becoming a top performer, because remember your benchmark is informed by the people currently working on the floor. And this isn't us having to guess. This isn't you and the manager sitting across the table say, oh, we really want to build this department. It would be nice if we have a maverick that does A, B, and C. And it's guesswork, or it's based on whatever. It's not that. It's you have the scientific data of people that under the current conditions, the current pay they're paying, the current demands while World War III is looming and World War III is looming or whatever, currently performing in that environment. Here you can give the guarantee that this individual has the chances to also become successful. Why? Because the way they do things, their natural patterns in their behaviors, and the thing that is expected of them in the environment, how they need to operate, is aligning. It's coming together to see there's that context fit. Now, I just want to say something very scary that might drive this home to you. All of these CVs look exactly the same. These are all the same CVs you've vetted. They all meet minimum requirements. They all have the experience. They all have the background. They all have the qualifications. So all of the hard work you're doing to say is, I vetted the CV. It's there. It looks like a fantastic, promising client. But some of these individuals have a 2 out of chance of having a sustainable fit in this environment. And some of them have a 100% chance of this. Without using Shadowmatch, you doing this blindly, because now you could have inky pinky ponky, and maybe it's number 15, that might have been whoever, Fred Flintstone, was the nicest CV because he worked with a nice AI program that zooshed up his CV. So you were convinced by the information you had to say, oh, yeah, sure, this looks like a nice candidate, and you recommended him. And now 2 months later, your client is picking up the phone and saying, listen, Fred is a disaster. Because every time we try to ask him to innovate, because he needs to be head of marketing and he needs to put the things on the table, he just disappears. He doesn't pitch up for the meetings. He's absent. What's happening? And meanwhile, what's happening on poor Fred's side is his habit of innovation is a very soft, planned behavior. And he didn't think that is what he's supposed to do in the environment. And now currently that is his responsibility. And you see how uncomfortable and how unsustainable that is. So do you see for that individual, that experience would be then, listen, I'm not being valued. I'm going down a road of, I'm hitting burnout. Because for years and years, if I'm in that context that's not aligning with me, eventually I'm going to get burned out, or they're unfortunately going to ask me to leave. So that's the scenario where we just picked the CV because it looked like a nice CV. But the scenario with, let's base this on information that guarantees a sustainable fit for that unique client. This is where this happens. And now let's say, okay, great, fantastic. You're at the point where you want to recommend, you just want to see these 2 CVs, because you can see the information. You can see, okay, I have a 10 out of 10, I have an 8 out of 10. These are the 2 candidates I'm going to put on the table. Then I say unlock, and my button became active. Just want to move the Zoom screen that I can click, And I click on unlock matches. And then those individuals become open. And now I see, oh, it's Dylan and it's Hannah. And now I know these are the individuals I can recommend. And these are the individuals you then phone and say, listen, Dylan, I found you the perfect position. And you phone the company, listen, company, I found you the perfect client. And the magic that you do then happens. So do you see what we mean by you only purchase and activate that what you need? By no means, there's no little T's and C bottom line things that we're hiding to say, to activate your 10 out of 10 match, you also have to activate two out of 10s. Nothing like that. It's purely you activate what you need. And you see now, if I'm working on an aspect like this, and this is the 2 payment options, Rosette will also touch on this. The way I was doing it now was just purchasing on demand. So just the things that I need. Once I have activated it, it's open. Someone like Brandon, I didn't activate him for this. I activated him earlier in my journey because I liked Brandon and I wanted to see what his results were. So I said that little cost of activating it, I want to make that part of the picture. But what I then get as a value as the recruitment company working with this big database is that individual became active. So now I can see him matched across my database. So that's the option where I'm doing it on demand. We also have the option where you say, listen, what I'm seeing is fantastic. What I see is I want my service to be taken to that next level. And I want to enhance this. And I don't want to purchase per thing. I don't want to be, because you're going to love it so much that every day you want to activate a new report and you say, listen, I just want to do one payment that it's slick and easy. Then we have the subscription option. The subscription option, you can start at any time. You see that button there at the top, it's there. And the nice thing is it's also no T's and C's that we're hiding. You can start and stop as your demand is. So the subscription option, Lizette will explain the detail, but it gives you higher access to more things are open. But you can then say, listen, I don't need that in December when it's holiday time. I'm not doing any recruitment. Then I'm pausing it. So you pause and fluctuate it as your business is more intense or tapering down. If you want to start the subscription, you simply click there. It gives the detail there and subscribe, and it's linked to your PayFast account, and the magic happens on the payment side. So this is really now a high-level overview, but what I just wanted to bring home today to you is, you see, by having the data on the system, it's enabling your processes. So you can either build a list of applicants, and this can be 1,000, it can be 10, depending on how many individuals or applicants you work with. And the things that you purchase and want to see live, you can activate it. Otherwise, it's simply a list of names that listen, these are all of the individuals that I have invited to complete the worksheet and have completed the worksheet. And for you, it's also a nice check to say, listen, is this candidate working with me? It was one of the tasks that I asked them to do to make sure I can give them a fantastic position. Yes. Did they complete the worksheet, or did you have to nag them 25 times? So already for you, insight into what what's happening. Just another thing maybe to mention at this point. Let's say you are servicing both individuals and companies. By them embarking with the journey, the individuals working that journey with them, you're giving them access to this resource. Now you're exposing them to the value of, listen, if I understand myself, I can now purchase other reports, like those amazing things that Lizette showed on that personal portal. Now the individual can say, yes, I want to enhance my CV. I want to add a skills map of all my current skills that I have. I want to add a report of who I am and how I operate. Or I want to understand my career journey. What are the careers that are going to fit my habits the best? So they can then put that on their personal portal side. You don't have to carry that cost. But by you inviting them to complete the worksheet from your side, they get the benefit of exposure to the value, and they can then decide to activate it. So that's the applicants, and then just the benchmark list. Remember, this is then also one of those things that as you continue to use the system, you keep the roles you want active. So if you've done, let's say sales, that happened. It was a recruitment, you did it, they're happy, the candidate is placed. Then you don't have to keep it active anymore, but you can still keep it there on the list. You can remove or keep, but here your list will then be of all of the active benchmarks you're recruiting for, that you have that information database, and that you can then recruit vice versa. And then just the last summary is, remember, if you then want to find recommendations, here you can then say, find everybody on my database and you can see everything that's then unlocked. If you have the subscription option, then it's not this. Then it's not that great. Then it's that you can see the matches and you can then decide, listen, which of these individuals do I want to see, and unlock per individual, purchase their reports, but you have more information ready at your fingertips, and it's activated. Is it? I think that's everything I wanted to mention. Let me just check my list quickly. Yeah, that's everything. So it's basically just on this interface, you can then activate the data that you need. And remember, everything is then, it comes with support from our side. There's training resources and all those things. Today is just a very high level overview that you can see what we're positioning truly is as amazing as it sounds, to say, here is my database. I can click and I can start and I can enhance and basically take my service to that next level, because now the individuals I'm recommending is a sustainable fit and not just, oh, it looks promising, let's hope for the best. You can with certainty say, yes, this individual is going to be happy and engaged because there's that fit for the unique culture of the client. Okay, thanks, Lizette. Back to you.
Thanks, Suzanne. That was an amazing walkthrough, and I think everybody is excited. As you can see, dear participants, very user-friendly. We didn't clutter it with anything. If you can read, you can use the system. So I think at this point, you're probably wondering, we've seen some of the prices. What is the cost? So let me jump right in, and let's look at the pricing. Let me just get my presentation going. Great. So we've seen the live system demo. So some of the pricing we've discussed, some of it you've seen, but let's just recap and let's just elaborate a bit. So applicants complete the Shadowmatch and the Skills Grid worksheets at no cost. So you can build your list of applicants, as you've seen and as we've discussed. Benchmarks, you can put 3 to 5 individuals in a benchmark. You can do as many benchmarks as you want. You've seen Suzanne had only IT and sales on the list. There can be 10, 20, 100 on the list. It's unlimited, no cost. And also no cost to the individual that is in the company in a top performing role to complete that worksheet, no cost. If you want to request a generic benchmark, remember we said you don't have a benchmark, it's a new role, or the company says we don't really have star performers, we can help with a generic benchmark. The cost is then 2,000 Rand excluding VAT. So it is expensive because we actually want you to use the role specific benchmark. And if you don't have one, yes, we want to help, but it involves some time and effort from our side. So that's why we charge that 2,000 Rand. Now, what do you pay for? You pay for unlocking of the match against the benchmark, and you also pay for unlocking the results and the reports. And how do I pay? You pay via PayFast. Now, there are 2 payment options. Suzanne referred to it, the subscription and the pay-as-you-go, pay-as-you-need. So let me discuss each of these in a bit more detail. So if you decide you want to do a monthly subscription, you saw that button, Suzanne showed us the button, you say, activate my subscription. Then that's a monthly cost running off your PayFast account. And for that monthly cost, some of the things are already included. You don't have to pay for that separately. So let's dive into the monthly subscription. For 1,150 Rand a month, it includes VAT in South Africa. I know some of you are not from South Africa, but that is the price. It's going to be 1,150. So for 1,150 Rand a month, you get your subscription that's activated. What does this include? It includes unlimited benchmarks and 30 running time-stamped applicant matches. So for 30 of your applicants, 30 of your newest applicants, you will see the color robots and you will see their match against the benchmark, and that's included in your monthly subscription. So you don't have to pay the fee to unlock those robots. There's a fee that you need to pay to unlock those robots. That fee is 50 Rand, 50. So if you will see your list of candidates, you will always see the 8, 9, 3 out of 10. That will also always be visible, but those robot colors that you saw will not be visible if you are not on the subscription. If you are on the subscription, for 30 of the newest results, those robot colors will also be visible. So you don't have to pay to unlock those robots. The moment you have person number 31, applicant number 31 coming in, the oldest result will then gray out. You will still see the name, but the robot colors will disappear because you are now working with your 30 newest applicants. You can obviously upgrade anytime. If you want to say, but I want to see 60 of my results live, then you upgrade your subscription to 2,000 odd rand a month. It will just double the subscription. And you can then see 60 results. And it's also a bit of a sliding scale, so it's not going to double every time you upgrade. We have built in a little bit of a sliding scale. So you can decide how many running results do you want to see. Keep in mind that the subscription does not include the reports. It's only to unlock those robots and to see the full match, the robot colors plus the match against your benchmark. Now, Suzanne did say you can stop your subscription at any point in time. So if you know for 3 months now you're not really going to do recruitment because of whatever reason, you can stop the subscription. Nothing's going to disappear. Your account will stay active. Your PayFast account will stay active. The monthly subscription will not run. It will not deduct your 1,150 Rand. And obviously, if you stop the subscription, those 30 results that were running visible will now just go to the gray list where you don't see the robot colors. Remember, if in the list of 30 people, there's an applicant where you now see, my applicant is Flip Flintstone, and I see this applicant is a 10 out of 10 match, and I really like his CV, and I've met Flip. He's a good guy. I think I might find a job for him. It's not really the best fit for this environment. Although he's a 10 out of 10, I think it's a bit far for him to drive. It's not really in the area where he lives. Location-wise, it's not the best fit. But I want to keep Flip's results active. I don't want it to gray out when I bring applicant number 31 into my list. You can purchase, although you're on the subscription, you can say, let me purchase Flip's results so that he always stays active on my list and never falls out of the list of 30 people. You can do that whilst you are on the subscription. And then the last point here, if you have no benchmarks, there will obviously be only names and surnames on your applicant list. No matches will be visible because there's nothing to compare against. Then you can say, okay, I don't have benchmarks, but I can purchase individual results. So if you don't work with benchmarks, it's maybe not the best option to go for subscription because you're going to pay the subscription, but you don't have benchmarks to compare against. You have to weigh what's going to work for you. You can pay the subscription. 30 of your results will be visible, but there won't be robots, even if you have a running list of 30, because you don't have benchmarks to match against. But maybe you are in the process of building your benchmarks and you want to activate the subscription. So as the results come in, you immediately see the 30 newest applicants match against the benchmark. So that's your monthly subscription. Then we have the pay-as-you-go. So remember, you have an unlimited list of benchmarks. You have a database of candidates. What do you pay for? You pay to unlock the match against a benchmark. So Suzanne clicked on it and she said, unlock the matches, and the robot colors became visible. Now, because we're working on the test system to do the demonstration, not all the payments are activated, but that will typically cost 50 Rand to get those robots displayed, the robot colors. You're going to pay 195 Rand per Shadowmatch result you unlock. Now, remember, the result is you see the bar graph, as I've showed you right at the beginning, and you see the match against the benchmark, and you get access to both the personal report for the individual, and you also get access to the matching report, the report explaining the applicant's match against your benchmark. So that's what you pay the 195 Rand for. Now, if you have already unlocked the match for the applicant, so you've searched your database, you have your list of applicants, you've seen a 10 out of 10 match, you say, wow, this person, I want to see the robots. I click on that, so I unlock the robot colors. I've paid 50 Rand for that. Now, for that same result, you want to purchase the report. We will deduct the 50 Rand that you have paid for the match. So you're now only going to pay 145 Rand for that report because you've already paid the 50 Rand to unlock the match. So we are generous. We're deducting 50 Rand. You now only unlock the report and the results for 145 Rand. So you can unlock the match and the reports for the applicants as you see fit, just as you need it. So build your list, build your benchmarks. It's no cost. and just pay for what you need when you need it. Now, with the Skills Grid, we have a special offer for 6 months. We're only going to charge you 100 Rand per result you unlock, not 195 Rand. And if you've paid 50 Rand to unlock those robot colors, you're only going to pay 50 Rand to unlock the report and the match for that Skills Grid. In 6 months' time, we will increase the Skills Grid fee for per result. And in January 2027, we will obviously increase all prices. It will just be marginal, like we do normally with our other systems and businesses. We do a small price increase, but these prices are fixed for 2026. And in 6 months' time, we will notify all our users, and the Skills Grid result will probably increase to 150 Rand per result and not 100 Rand. So, it will, as I said, it will be marginal. So that's the pricing for the pay-as-you-go. Now, my last slide before we then get into the questions, and then you can ask your questions with regards to pricing or any of the things that you've seen that you are not sure on. There is an opportunity for you as a recruitment agent or a recruiting company to earn a passive income. Where you use Shadowmatch at your client, so where you recommend an applicant to a client and you include the Shadowmatch results and you include the Shadowmatch matching report, it will spark curiosity and interest because some of your clients haven't seen Shadowmatch. They don't know about Shadowmatch. They will see this report, they will read through it, and they will ask you, but what is this? Wow, what is this Skills Grid? What is this Shadowmatch? It looks interesting. You are welcome to then become a promoter. You can say to your client, I'm going to put you in touch with head office. They will do the demonstration. They will show you the system. They will show you what is possible for you as a business. So you give us a warm introduction. You say, hey, Shadowmatch head office, my client is interested to know more about Shadowmatch. You connect the two of us and you walk away. We do the demonstration. We contract with the client. We do the support. The benefit to you as the recruitment company or agent is you will then get access to all the internal benchmarks they create. Because the moment they start using the system on the business side as a client, they will create benchmarks. They will start using the system. And you will then have access to those benchmarks for recruitment. So it can also then enhance your recruitment service to that client because now there are more roles available where you have access to benchmarks so that you can place candidates and recommend the best fit for that specific role or that specific job. And then there's a lifetime commission on active clients. So as long as this client that you've introduced to us is an active client on the Shadowmatch system, for that time, you will then earn commission. Nothing that you have to do. You've just given us a warm introduction. We do the rest, and you can then earn commission on the lifetime of that client. Now, just so that you have a very high-level overview, what does the system offer to a client? That's a normal business. That's your client using you are offering your services to as a recruitment agent. In a business, Shadowmatch is used for optimal placement. There's four main business applications. The second one is they use it for development of people. They use it to analyze teams in the business, and they use it for employee wellness. And then in a business skills grid, companies use it to do a skills database of all their employees. They can then search that database for specific skills, and they use Skills Grid to do a gap analysis, to identify where are there skill gaps in my company and what training should I do with specific divisions and specific people so that we breach that gap and that we develop specific skills in a specific area of business. And then also available to a business is Stress Mapper. That's a short 10-minute questionnaire. Individuals complete it. An individual get a stress report, confidential to the individual, but the business gets access to group stress maps that shows in a business what are the stress amongst specific groups in the business and where do we need specific interventions. So that's really on a high level what Shadowmatch offers to a business. So if you do have a client that becomes curious because you've included a Shadowmatch or a Skills Grid result in your recommendation when you submit your CV of your applicant, let them talk to us, give us a warm introduction. We will take them through all these applications, and once they sign up as client, you can earn an annuity income. Then lastly, two things, the second last slide, and then I'll open the floor for questions. If you are interested in becoming an active Shadowmatch recruitment portal user, so what you've seen today, you say, wow, this is really affordable. I really think this can enhance my service and differentiate my service into my market, send us an email and we'll get you started. There's the email address, info@shadowmatch.co.za. We obviously need some information. We'll need your business name. We'll need your invoicing details for in case it's needed for an invoice. So we need to capture a lot of things on the system to get your account opened on the Shadowmatch system. So send us an email. We'll get you started. No cost. Remember, the only time you pay is when you start unlocking the results, as we've shown you. So there's no hidden cost. We get you started free of cost. And then on the 9th of April, from 9 to 10 in the morning, we'll send you this via email as well. We will do a training session on the recruitment portal that you've just seen. So if you are still a bit unsure and you still say, sure, this was a lot of information, I need some time to digest, but I would like to see it again, you can join us on Zoom. The link will be available soon. Charmaine will send it when she sends you the recording. And this is free for all. So I also want to urge you that if you've seen today something that you say, wow, I wish my colleague was here, or I know somebody else that's also in recruitment, they need to see this, invite them. It's a free for all session. Yes, it's going to be more in depth because we're actually going to train those users that have indicated that they are interested so that they can use the system, that they can start using the system. Remember, we're not going to wait until the 9th of April for you to use the system, but that will be a training session. So if you want to sign up, let us know. We'll get you started. But the 9th of April will really be an in-depth walkthrough. And again, answering your questions, especially if you've started using the system and you have some questions, 9th of April will be the opportunity to ask those questions. And then last but not least, some of you might have seen this email from the system. Those of you that are joining us today for the first time, we are hosting a workshop on the 16th of April. It's happening in Gauteng, 9 to 12 in the morning, Doxa Deo midstream. So please, you are welcome. The registration link is at the bottom on the slide. We will also add the registration link in the email that we sent with the recording. This is an in-person workshop. And this workshop, the name is Weathering the Perfect Storm. This workshop is for every individual to help them to navigate the challenges of life. So sometimes challenges stack up, and that's what we call a perfect storm. Things just happen. My gate motor breaks, my car has a flat tire, I need to do the washing, my child phones from school, they're sick. Everything happens in one day, and that is like the perfect storm. And I feel overwhelmed, and I feel like I don't know how I'm going to get through this day, or I don't know how I'm going to get through this season of my life. That workshop is for that person to say, but let's work through what you can do, knowing your own behavioral patterns and your habits. How do you put that into action to help you to weather the perfect storm? So it's a very valuable in-person workshop. There's a registration page, 9 to 12, available and open to anybody. So please market this to your social network as well. That registration link will take people to this page where they can book their seat, pay their ticket, and off they go. We'll see them on the 16th of April from 9 to 12 at Doxa Deo midstream. That's in the Centurion area. Obviously, once you've registered, you will get all the detail and you will get a reminder with the map, with the GPS coordinates and all the things you need to make your way through Doxa Deo midstream. Great. From my side, thank you very much. There's the website address. If you want to know more about Shadowmatch just in general, you're welcome to visit shadowmatch.com. That's our information library. Thank you so much for attending. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stop my sharing of my screen. I will enable the setting for you to unmute your microphone, and then you're welcome to ask any question related to what we discussed today. So let me go to my list. And let me just go and Great. The setting is enabled. You will be able to unmute your microphone. So you're welcome to just go ahead, raise your hand, switch on your video, raise your virtual hand, ask your questions, and we will see how best we can help and answer. I'll give it a moment. Suzanne, anything from your side whilst we wait? Okay. Nothing from your side, Suzanne? Jolie or Julie, however you say your name, you're welcome to go ahead.
Joe for short. No, I've got no questions. I think Otto, I work with Otto, so he knows you guys very well. So, but it was very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining, and I hope that is something that you can use and that you can make use of, and that will actually enhance your service. I'm sure you're also then in the recruitment industry with Otto. So Otto,
Yes.
thanks for inviting Joe. It's great that you could join. Nice to see you, and thanks for also switching on your video. It's always nice to see a face to the name, so that was special. Thanks.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Otto, I see you've unmuted. You're welcome to go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted. I mean, I've been with you guys for many years, and I firmly believe in the product and the system, and I've used it with quite a few of my clients. But the one big client has always been very faithful in it, and they created their benchmarks, and the recruitment process became a lot easier, and it made my life as a recruiter for them a lot easier. Once I've had the benchmarks, I could match very specific cultural fits for the clients in their various positions. So it was very interesting. Well, it was interesting for them to see how it decreased staff turnover, first of all. And also, it made my job so much easier to get the correct applicant and the best applicant into their organization. I think it's just important that we also mention, although we create benchmarks, say for a sales individual in organization A, and we use that benchmark maybe for another organization, it doesn't always work very well. So if you've got a sales role in organization A, don't think that you can use that benchmark then for organization B, because the culture in the two organizations are so different. So it's important to, if you get exactly the same role with a different organization, create a new benchmark, because the culture, the thinking, it is totally different in that environment to the one environment. So I just want to make it so that people understand that when you use a benchmark, you can create 7 benchmarks for 7 different companies for the same role, because all of them are different. I just wanted to mention that. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Otto. That's very important. And thanks, Susanne. I see your hand is raised. Go ahead.
Okay, thanks, Lizette. I'm so glad you mentioned that, Otto. So one of the case studies in the research of Shadowmatch now many years ago when it went to market was an individual that was a car salesman at a dealership. And this person was doing fantastic, so making the best targets every month. And the individual got headhunted and moved to a different dealership. Now, us not being car salesmen, we assume, listen, if you can sell a car, you can sell a car. Come on, you just sell a car. But what happened is in the first environment, the context fit the environment, fit the individual. So there he was making the best sales. And now he moved over to the second dealership, and obviously there was a big placement fee, and you know the things that happen behind the scenes of a placement like that, especially if it's a high level, a big position. And the individual failed. He just didn't make the sales. So there was a sour taste in everybody's mouth, because what is happening here? This individual came so highly recommended, but it's not working. But let's say in dealership 1, the individual had the authority to make the sale on the floor. So you could say, hi, Lizette, you want to buy a car? I'm going to give you 5% discount. Awesome, deal signed. In dealership 2, I needed 5 signatures to do exactly that. So the environment didn't allow me to flourish. It didn't allow me to be successful. So what was missing in that placement is understanding the individual and understanding the context. Because if there was a car salesman benchmark of dealership A and a car salesman benchmark of dealership B, they would have seen, listen, this individual is flourishing here because they're completely aligning the way they naturally want to do things, and the way the environment is supporting that individual is completely aligned. But in dealership 2, not. Because in dealership 2, we have a very micromanagement style or routine style, whatever the dynamics of that is. So that's exactly what Otto referred to there. Don't think a salesman is a salesman is a salesman. And that is what makes Shadowmatch so accurate, because you're not coming with this generic profile of, oh, all salesmen that do this. And the one individual sells homes to international investors in Clifton, and the other salesman sells phones to teenagers in rural communities. That's not the same thing. So it's understanding the dynamics of that specific environment. And that's why we made that at no cost to say, but make sure you're enabling the process accurately, that you can recommend that you can say, listen, I can definitely vouch for this because we vetted it with your own individuals that are currently performing. So yeah, so thanks, Otto. That was a great comment that you made. And that's obviously that's what we meant with the training, that you can see working with benchmarks. How do you unlock the full value of this? Today, we just position the functioning of this, but when you engage the system on the 9th, we go into that, really think about this. How is this enhancing your process? Practically, where do you click, where do you find, but the thinking behind it, that you're on top of that and enabled. Thanks, Lizzie.
Great. Thanks, Otto. Thanks, Susanne, for sharing that case study as well. That obviously positions it more or better if you have a practical example. Let's see, any other comments, any other questions? Please make a note of the date, the 16th. We will, again, on the 16th of April, we will, on the 9th of April, now I've got the weathering the storm in my mind. On the 9th of April, we will also do a recording. So if you can't make that date and you've got have other commitments, don't stress. We will do a recording as well. But I think it's a great opportunity for you to invite more of your colleagues in the industry to attend that session. Let's see, last comments, last questions. Doesn't look like it. I think from my side, thank you so much for joining us. You've got an extra 35 minutes now that you've put aside for this meeting, where you can actually go and have some coffee or tea and just spend some me time. Enjoy your day. Thanks for joining, and we'll see all of you then again on the 9th of April. We'll keep in touch via email, and if you're interested already, let us know to info@shadowmatch.co.za. Go well, everybody. Cheers.